Hey guys, welcome back to Movies with G Rose. I took a week off last week. Just couldn't do it. Sometimes, you just need a break. I finished the October horror bracket. I did a quick little episode last week to talk about some big movies I saw after that. And this week I'm going to try to blast through the movies that I've seen since Hereditary, which is a pretty big list. Here, let me turn the music down a bit. Pretty big list. I don't know that I'll be able to get through all of these today, but I've watched some real bangers. Let me pull up the list here of everything I've seen. So we're talking, everything from Elf to Krampus. I've watched since we stopped the October bracket. And we can start with Elf. I would love to start with Elf. If you saw the thumbnail, you'll know that Eternals is coming up. I'll definitely make sure to get to that. But for now, I'd love to talk about Elf. Elf has a very special place in my heart, as you can see from my rating here. I kind of grew up watching Elf a lot. It was always on every Christmas Eve. And I firmly believe that this is Will Ferrell's best movie. Some of you may not know this, but Jon Favreau was actually the director of this movie. He made bangers such as Iron Man, Iron Man 2, and he's an executive producer on a lot of the Marvel films. So to see him do a Christmas movie that I love so much is pretty awesome. I don't know, like it's hard to describe this movie to someone that's never seen it. It's a movie about a man that thinks that he's an elf that ends up in New York City trying to find his dad. He obviously gets into a bunch of shenanigans because he thinks he's an elf. But there's just like a wholesomeness to this movie, and such, you know, the whole fish out of water story is obviously a huge cliche these days, but this is the best example of it. You know, Will Ferrell in most movies is too schlocky, or I don't know, it's just the right amount of silly stupid. And you know, he gets to play with James Caan, who plays his dad and gets to be the stereotypical like reactor, like, I don't, you know, businessman, I don't deal with bullshit Christmas. And he plays his role perfectly too. So you've got these like two characters that blend really well. The kid that plays the son is great, and he has great moments with Will Ferrell. Even Zooey Deschanel in this movie is much more tolerable than she is in a lot of things. I don't know. It's just front to back, this movie's basically perfect in my opinion. I'd give it a hard 9 out of 10. It might deserve the 10, to be honest with you. I could watch this movie. There are some movies that I may not want to watch every year, but I feel like I have to. This is a movie that I'm excited to watch every year. I watched it, you know, I watched it on the 8th, and I wouldn't be surprised if I watched it again before Christmas time came. I just love it. And, you know, I do think it is a perfect movie, basically, but I think also the fact that, you know, my grandma loves it so much, and, you know, I have these memories watching it as a kid. I think that adds to it, obviously. You know, there's a huge nostalgia factor when you're talking about Christmas and the holidays, and yeah, it's a wonderful movie. I really can't think of anything wrong with it. I'm trying to criticize it in some way, but it's just a no-brainer for anyone. I guess you could say the third act, like the Central Park stuff, slogs a little bit, but overall it's pretty incredible. Hey Mike, welcome to chat. How do you feel about the new layout? I think it looks pretty good. But yeah, I was just wrapping up my conversation about Elf. I absolutely adore this movie. I'll probably watch it again before Christmas actually comes around. Alright, so after Elf, I watched Blade Runner 2049. You know, I had recently seen Dune, and I wanted to rewatch this movie. Same creator, obviously. Mike said, yeah, Elvis an icon. Yeah, great movie. So yeah, you know, I recently saw Dune, and in that review, my last video, I talked about, you know, the fact that I love this movie so much because it's from the same creators. They're very comparable in terms of visual style and pacing. And I felt like this movie deserved a rewatch. I hadn't seen it in a while, and Natalie had never seen it, so I got to show it to her. Natalie hates long movies, and this movie's, you know, close to 3 hours. And about halfway through the movie, we had to pause it, you know, go bathroom break, grab a snack, that sort of thing. And when I hit pause, Natalie was like blown away that like an hour and a half had already gone by. And I think that's a great indicator of how captivating this movie is. I do think it's better than Dune, just because I think, you know, it has the benefit of being a holistic, self-contained story. There's no sequel, and I love, you know, the idea of Blade Runner is, what if we created robots that looked and acted just like human beings, and we used them as slaves? That's the story. And as time goes on, the robots become more and more like humans. We have to try harder and harder to stop them from rebelling. Do they deserve to have rights? do they deserve to be treated as actual people? And you've got Ryan Gosling at the center of it as a cool detective. Um, Incredible acting, incredible cinematography. Um, it's just, it's also probably a perfect movie, just like Elf. It's fantastic, and like I said, you know, for someone who doesn't love long movies like my girlfriend, she's also not super into sci-fi. For her to watch this and to be engrossed in it and actually think it was good, I think that says a lot about it. That being said, the I think the main reason this movie is 2 hours and 40 whatever minutes long is because he hangs on scenes for so long. Like you can tell that the director, which is one of my favorite directors of all time, Denis Villeneuve, you can tell that he puts so much care and time and effort and money into every single scene and every single set that he's like obsessed with squeezing as much time out of each scene as he can. So scenes that could be much shorter are filled with much more padding of just, you know, let's linger on this person's face as they react. You know what I mean? There's lots of lingering in this movie. Lingering. But it's still great. I mean, the story's there, you know. It's an interesting mystery. It's got some cool twists. It's got some humor. And, pardon my language, it's fucking amazing. I mean, if you love it, you know, heady sci-fi, it's not even that heady. I mean, it's got some heady concepts in it, but it's still accessible. But I don't think it's a stretch to say that this is an artistic sci-fi. And I feel like in today's day and age, seeing an artistic, high-budget sci-fi movie is harder to come by. And so if that appeals to you, you know, I would recommend watching this on a big screen in the highest definition you can. You know, this is a movie that you want to watch in 4K, you know, and crank the volume because it's an experience, you know, and I feel like it's a memorable one. So I would highly recommend checking out Blade Runner 2049. It's a shame too because this movie kind of bombed in the box office, and then it found kind of a cult success, a cult following afterwards. You know, it's probably the best sequel, I would say, to any movie. You know, I'm not a huge fan of the original from the 80s. If you don't know, this movie, there's a Blade Runner in the 80s starring Harrison Ford. Natalie didn't even know that existed, so I guess I shouldn't assume that everyone listening knows. But yeah, it was a movie back in the day, and yeah, and so this is the sequel to it. And it bombed in the box office, which is why the new movie Dune, they weren't able to greenlight it for 2 movies out the gate. They said, okay, make the first Dune, we'll see how it performs, and if it does well, then we'll let you make the second one, which kind of sucks because it would have been cool if they could film them both back to back, because it's one book divided into 2 movies. I'm gonna shut the hell up now. After Blade Runner was Natalie's pick. It was her turn to pick a movie. Hold on one moment. Sorry, I'm stumbling with my sources. After Blade Runner, Natalie got to pick a movie. It was her turn. And why is this? Oh, that's why. She picked a Christmas movie. This is a new Netflix movie. It's called Love Hard. It came out this year, and it wasn't bad. I gave it a 5 out of 10 because it's perfectly average. You know, it's got some cringe. It's got some lackluster writing, especially with the family. You know, if you've seen a Lifetime Christmas movie, you kind of know what to expect, except this movie does skirt around some of the stereotypes. Like, it doesn't have, like, the shitty family that disapproves of the main character. They're very supportive. Sometimes they try to make it, like, comedically supportive, and it doesn't... Some of the comedy kind of sucks. What else can I say about this movie? It's a movie about catfishing. Spoilers. And it's got, like I said, it's got a couple cringe moments and a couple of moments that are trying really hard to be funny and are really not and go on for way too long. But then on the flip side, it's also got a couple moments that are A, it's got one scene in particular that I thought was going to be super ultra cringe and turned out to actually be clever and kind of funny. I really enjoyed that scene. It's a scene where they're caroling and they talk about the Baby It's Cold Outside song and how, like, in the last year or two, like, people don't like that song anymore because it's kind of, like, rapey. Um, and so the two main characters, they have to carol, and the girl doesn't want to do the song, but the guy is forcing her to, and the guy's like, "Oh, it's okay, we'll get through it." Like, he says, "You just say the normal lines, and I'll change mine to be less rapey." And I thought to myself, like, "Oh boy, like this is gonna be super cringe. Like, there's no way this is, you know what I mean? This is gonna be like some SJW cringe stuff." But it was actually like really tastefully done and funny, and I think that's the difference. It's like if it was just like cringe, like poorly written, it would have been like ultra bad. Like it might have bumped this movie down to a 4 out of 10. But it was really good and funny, and like I don't know what more I could say about it, but that scene stuck with me because I really thought it was going to be bad, and it was actually pretty solid. And put a smile on my face. And then there's another scene that like almost made me cry. As I get older, like stuff like this just makes it like I cry easier at stuff. I don't know. Maybe I just like am more empathetic, as like an adult. But yeah, there's a scene where the guy, he makes candles as a hobby, and he made a candle that smells just like his grandfather, so that he can remember his grandfather. Um, I'm like welling up just talking about it. It's such a sweet idea that I've genuinely never seen done in a movie before, and just him talking about it and stuff, and it's so beautiful. And you can tell that the movie creators, they figured out that they stumbled onto something beautiful because they stretch that scene, not in a bad way, but it's like as an audience member, I'm like waiting for them to like lighten it so that I can like stop forcing myself not to well up, and they're just like lingering on it. So when you mix all that together, you mix the cringe and the stereotypes and the cliches, and you mix it with like some pretty good characters and a couple really great moments, you end up with this 5 out of 10 movie that perfectly fine. I would say it's worth a watch. If you're looking for like a whatever movie, it's 100 minutes, so a little over an hour and a half. Yeah, there's not a whole lot to say, but I'm sure I'll end up watching more of these. Natalie loves movies like this, like the stereotypical Lifetime whatever. She grew up watching them, so yeah, Love Hard was fine. All right, next up was my pick for the next movie night. I picked Fight Club. Um, it's tough because I feel like I could talk about Fight Club for a very extended period of time, and I don't have unlimited time today because I'm going to see a movie later. But man, Fight Club is such an interesting movie. Natalie had never seen it, and it's a movie that I genuinely think everyone has to see at least one time. It's a must watch. And Natalie told me after she watched it that it wasn't at all what she thought it would be. And I think it's really interesting to get her opinion on movies like this because she didn't grow up watching like angsty, obscure-ish movies like I did. And so to get her, she's kind of like my baseline. She probably has the same general opinion as like most people do, right? So I think to most people, this movie is portrayed or seen as something that it's not. What it is it's this really weird story, that goes beyond just guys beating, like, it's not just guys beating each other up in a basement. Like, everything surrounding that concept is really weird and obscure. The characters are insane. The direction is great, but it's slow and creepy. And it's just like, it's a really, really angsty movie. I think that, I think when it came out, it was more effective. And as a high school boy, this movie was like incredible, right? Because like it's very anti-capitalism, anti-establishment ideas, you know, and it's all about Brad Pitt being super macho, talking about how, you know, it's not about the stuff you buy, man, and you know our generation's pissed off because we thought we'd be rock stars, and lots of monologues, and you know, watching it today, a lot of that stuff feels played out and cliche. You kind of have to give it a little grace because I think when it came out in 1999, wow, 99. I didn't know it was that old. I thought it was like early 2000s. That actually blew my mind a little bit. This movie came out 2 years after I was born. Wow, I did not know this was 99. When it came out in 99, it was much fresher. Like ideas like this weren't nearly as overplayed. You know, kind of the typical like Office Space thing was still happening. Around this period in time, society was shifting from you know, coming into success as the past generation was, and this generation was more about like adapting to modern day work life and the different types of struggles that come with that, right? Instead of struggling for war or struggling through the Great Depression, people struggled through identity. You know, they were able to buy things that they wanted, but it didn't make them happy. They were able to live and work a comfortable job, but it made them bored. And so this movie's kind of an angsty response to that, but it turns. I think it. I think it's a little better each time you watch it because you kind of realize that the movie is poking fun at itself in a lot of ways. Um, the Fight Club turns into sort of a cult, and there's lots of negative repercussions to that. And there's a twist at the end. And I think when you know everything about the movie and then you watch the movie again, it shows you that the movie is, on one hand, glorifying the, you know, patriarchy, the, you know, the toxic masculinity is the centerpiece of this movie, quite literally. You know, it's men literally beating the shit out of each other for fun because it gives them some sort of purpose again. It makes them feel something again. And the movie and its characters are glorifying that for most of the movie. But then things turn sour. And you learn that they probably shouldn't be going about things this way, and therefore the toxic masculinity stuff is actually bad. It's like the Wolf of Wall Street, right? The Wolf of Wall Street, for most of the movie, is glorifying this lifestyle that he lived, right? But then everything goes to shit at the end, and you learn that not only was he harming, you know, thousands and thousands of innocent people, he was harming himself and the people around him directly. But to an uneducated viewer, they're going to watch Wolf of Wall Street or Fight Club and think, man, these guys are so awesome. I want to live my life like them. And they completely miss the point that, no, like, this stuff seems cool when you're in it, but when you take a step back, you realize that, oh shit, this is actually terrible. What's going on, right? But because the movie doesn't beat that into your head, some people are going to miss that. And it's going to be misconstrued. So it's a great movie. This review is great. It's by someone called Brat on Letterboxd. They said, first watch, Fight Club is the best movie ever made. Second watch, Fight Club is a deep commentary on the dangers of consumerism. Third watch, Fight Club is a disgusting cesspool of toxic masculinity, and it's not as deep as its fanboys think it is. Fourth watch. Fight Club is a critique of toxic masculinity, and it's deeper than its fanboys think it is. Fifth watch. Fight Club is the most satirical gay rom-com ever made. So I think that sums it up. Brad Pitt is fucking incredible. Edward Norton is also incredible. The acting, the writing, the comedy, the drama, the direction, the soundtrack, incredible. Awesome movie, very weird. Not one to watch with your parents. One of my favorite directors as well, David Fincher. He makes movies about crazy people. Fight Club, Gone Girl, Social Network 7, Zodiac, The Game. Highly recommend checking out Fight Club if you haven't seen it. All right, next up. Eternals. This movie is a hard 5, soft 6. I sat it at a 5 because I'm just fucking sick of it, dude. I'm just fucking... Everyone is so tired of Marvel. And it's impossible to hide it. Everyone knows it. Marvel died with Iron Man. And we're all waiting for the next big thing, and you know what? Scratch that. We're not all waiting. No one is waiting. No one cares anymore. COVID fucked up their momentum because they had to put so much on hold. Then they put up Black Widow, which no one cares about. WandaVision was okay. Falcon and Winter Soldier kind of sucked. Loki was great, but no one watched it. And then this is their next big thing. It's Eternals. And Eternals is 2 hours and 40-something minutes, and it's 2 movies jammed into one. That's what it is. It's a movie, they should have done it like Guardians of the Galaxy, where the first movie should have been introducing the characters, giving yourself some time to breathe, letting us care about them, and then the second movie should have been them fighting the Celestial. And instead, they shoved it all into one movie, and there's a bunch of flashbacks in it where, oh, this is them, back in time when the world was beginning, and now this is them now, and there's fucking 20 billion different characters, and we're going to have 5 different scenes where someone just explains, 3 issues of comic books to you, because we don't have enough time. It's exhausting, Oh, the Celestials were created 20 million years ago, and then they created the planets, and then to protect the planets from the evil bad guys called the Deviants, we created a team called Eternals, and each Eternal has an ability, and they were born. It's like, oh my god, dude, get it. And then on top of that, the comedy sucks most of the time. The ending is super anticlimactic. Jon Snow is barely in it. It's just a fucking snoozer, dude. The action, there's like 3 good action sequences out of like 15. I know I'm getting real worked up about this, but it's just it's a shame because, we're going back to like the X-Men days where like a superhero movie would come out with a bunch of stuff in it and no one cares about any of it because it just feels flat. The story is uninteresting. And, at least this movie has decent characters. Kumail Nanjiani, he's pretty good in it. I don't know. Everyone is fine in this movie. Angelina Jolie was surprisingly not too bad. But it's an exhausting movie with too much exposition and too many fight scenes that aren't that great. I don't want to see the 5th scene of someone smashing a sword into a CGI wolf that's an alien. Like, I just don't care, I kept looking at my watch. I couldn't wait for it to be over. And I think they probably didn't want to take the risk on making this 2 separate movies, but they should have. Because I think 2 2-hour movies would have been better than 1 2-hour 45-minute movie. Especially when you look at the ending, which is the third. The third act is so anticlimactic. And then it suffers, of course, from like Marvel disease. I'm going to coin the phrase Marvel disease, okay? Marvel disease is the fact that every conflict is watered down by the fact that other Marvel characters would have stepped in and intervened. Okay? For example, at the end of this movie, no spoilers, okay? But at the end of this movie, they're fighting to keep Earth alive, okay? If they fuck up their mission, Earth goes bye-bye, okay? Big deal, big stakes. We're not just talking about New York. We're not talking about mystical fucking fantasy land where only they live. No, we're talking about Earth, all right? If they fuck up, Earth dies. Am I seriously supposed to believe that not a single other Marvel character would have stepped in and helped? I mean, Captain Marvel is more powerful than every single person on this team. Okay? And I get it, you know, she's off saving other planets in different galaxies, but like, she's not going to show up to save Earth? Okay? Or Doctor Strange, or I find it, I don't know, it's Marvel disease, right? Where this idea that there are so many other characters that are as powerful or more powerful that would probably step in and help, but they're not. And you either have to explain why, which is boring, or you just ignore it entirely, which is unrealistic. And it's a shame that they have to deal with that issue. It's an issue that they've created for themselves. But it's distracting, in my opinion, when I'm sitting there going, where's Captain Marvel? You know, she's better than all of these people put together. But whatever. Maybe I'm just an idiot. It is weird, too, that they don't have any cameos from any other Marvel characters in this movie. I guess I just assumed they'd do that in every Marvel movie from here until Infinity. There'd always be a tie-in my mind. The after credit scene, even, it doesn't have any tie-ins. It's literally just they like introduce a new Eternal character, a new character. There's no tie-ins whatsoever. In the after credit scene, you hear a line of dialogue from, I think, Samuel L. Jackson, Nick Fury, but like that's it. And I don't know. I you know, like I said, there's great actors in it, and the characters are fine, but it's just too much. It's too much with and I feel like even when the stakes are high and even when the story beats are good, none of it has enough time to breathe. There's not enough time to focus on anything, and so it's just a big pile of mush, and my brain has forgotten most of it already. Big disappointment. I don't know how this is going to integrate with Avengers either, or like I don't know what they're doing, right? I don't know what they're doing because these characters are they're only supposed to fight the deviants. There's one group of bad guys that they're allowed to fight, right? And no spoilers involved. They kind of left it in a place where that could change potentially, right? But it's just, it doesn't feel like they're building another team. Are they going to do the new Avengers? That's the name of it in the comics. Are they going to do the Young Avengers? Are they just not going to do a big team thing again? I would love to know what their game plan is, you know? Early reviews for Hawkeye are shit. There's rumors that Daredevil's going to come back and all the Spider-Man and the multiverse. I mean, listen, I hope Spider-Man is good. It has to be because this franchise is on its last legs. I mean that sincerely as someone that enjoys Marvel movies. This franchise is on its way out. And they're not sticking this new phase. It's safe to say that this new phase is not a success so far. So they need to turn the ship around and focus on what's working, which is Spider-Man, Loki, Wanda. People kind of liked WandaVision. Yeah. What a mess, man. What a mess. How far are we falling, right? Alright. I'm not going to talk about Brawl and Cell Block 99 because I've already talked about it, but I will say that I liked it even more the second time I watched it. I had watched it like just a couple months ago, and I rewatched it with a friend. I love this movie. genuinely. It's really weird and depressing, but it's also like funny and gory, and it's incredible. So definitely go watch that. The last movie I'll talk about today is Krampus. I had never seen Krampus before. Um, it's a schlocky horror comedy. It's not very good. I I didn't you know I wanted to watch a horror movie, and Natalie wanted to watch a Christmas movie, so we settled on Krampus, which is something in the middle. It's starring Adam Scott, who most people know him as Ben Wyatt from Parks and Rec, um, and it also has Toni Collette, who is from Hereditary, and then it's got this guy David whoever, who's in like a bunch of comedy stuff, and it's a weird genre because it's think schlocky mid 2000s horror movie, but it's Christmas themed, right? So you've got like the stereotypical Christmas scenes of, the family that no one likes, and the weird relatives. And if you've seen like Christmas Vacation, it's literally that. Like the hillbilly cousins come over for dinner, and like the kids are fucking weird, and like the dad is like stupid and overly masculine, and they've got like a weird pet, and like think that. So you've got all that stuff going on, right? Where like no one wants these family members over, but we're trying to make it work because it's Christmas, right? So it scratches that like Christmas Vacation itch, that Christmas stereotype itch, right? But then like halfway through the movie, seriously halfway, it's probably, I don't know, after the first act, whatever, then Krampus shows up, and he's like the big bad guy, right? And now he's like going around to other houses and he's killing people, but you don't see the deaths, and it's not really gory, and there's still like comedy moments, and the horror stuff just doesn't work. It's really it leans much more into an action movie, which most bad horror movies do, right? If you can't make a movie that's actually scary, what you end up making is an action movie with scary characters, right? And scary props. But really, it's just an action movie, right? Guns, and we have to go save my daughter. We can't find her. Oh, there's an abandoned house. Oh, my car got torn up. Oh, there's something under the snow. But none of it's really played like for tension, right? There's not like creepy music and long panning shots. It's like quick energy action type vibes, and because of that, it's just boring. This movie's a fucking snooze. Second act, we were on our phones like the entire time. It honestly felt like a waste to watch this movie, which sucks because I wanted to like it. The director hasn't really done anything except he made Godzilla, and he made Trick or Treat, and I love Trick or Treat. And Trick or Treat is like one of the best Halloween movies of all time. It encapsulates Halloween so well. And this movie Krampus, it encapsulates Christmas so well, but it doesn't do the horror in a satisfying way. It just doesn't. And I don't know, if you can't make it scary, why bother making it in the first place? You know what I mean? It falls in this weird gray area where it probably would have been better as just a Christmas Vacation knockoff. If they just kept doing that, I think it would have been a better movie. Because the horror stuff it's not scary. And I don't have a whole lot more to say about it other than that. It's got a couple moments that are kind of endearing, but overall, it's a snoozer. And if you want to watch a movie that, if you want to watch a Christmas movie that's also kind of a horror movie, and does something unique, I would suggest watch this movie instead. Better watch out. Not an A+ movie, but better than this. I just think Krampus was a swing and a miss, and most people agreed. It was kind of a flop on Rotten Tomatoes and general audiences, people didn't like this movie. So, just boring. I would rather watch Love Hard than this, even though they're both a 5 out of 10. So, take that what you will. All right, well, that is it for today. I appreciate everybody that tuned in to watch. Tonight, I'm going to be seeing House of Gucci, which is starring Lady Gaga and Kylo Ren. I can't think of his name right now, whatever it is, which I like them both. It's also got Jared Leto in it. Great cast. The reviews are whatever, but we just wanted to go see something, so I think at like 8 or 9 p.m. is our showing. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of today's video, what you thought of the movies I talked about. Talked about some real bangers today, so let me know what you thought about them, and leave a like. It really, really helps for you to leave a like. Even if you don't want to subscribe, helps the YouTube algorithm if you thumbs up the video. Anyway, that's all for today. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you next week on Movies with G Rose. Peace.